Okay. Hello, stream. Just doing some final setup here. I'm going to be setting up the mount and telescope and having a look at the sun. Hopefully everyone can hear me on the stream. Please just holler in chat if you can't hear anything so I know what to fix. And we'll get started on setting this up. All right. So we'll start off with the mount. I've got some markings on the ground here that I use to try and assist with a reasonably quick polar alignment. That looks pretty good there. It gets me sort of just roughly aligned to the sun, or to the south celestial pole, which really helps when you're setting up in the day, because obviously you can't do a star alignment or a drift alignment during the day. Next step, I'll throw the mount head on, so put that back in. Gotta say, I really do like the handle on this EQ6R Pro. It makes it so much easier to carry around. It is a warm day in Sydney today. Beautiful blue skies. And we'll do a final adjustment of the legs once we tighten all this up. Make sure we're as close as possible to my little markings. That looks pretty good. Now, the solar telescope's not nearly as heavy as my astrophotography telescope, so I think we will only need one counterweight today, but we'll see how we go. We'll do our balance checks in a moment. But that should be all right. And that should be all we need from that case. There we go. All right, stream still seems to be live, which is good. Next up, just set up the cabling for the mount. I really enjoy using the Pegasus Astro Pocket Power Advance. Really nice little bit of kit. Makes power management really easy. You just get one battery. I use usually the Jackery 500. Plug it in here, and then the power from there goes out to everything else that you need. But since I'm at home, I'm just going to be using an AC power adapter. Then this cable is for my mount, so plug that into the hand control, plug the power in, and the other end just goes into the little Pegasus Astro box. Power will feed through there, and USB through there. Cool. Make sure I don't disconnect anything when I move my laptop around. Okay, I think we're just about ready for the telescope. So today we'll be looking through the Lunt 80mm THA, which is a hydrogen alpha telescope. This telescope has an 80mm diameter. Bring it up for a bit of a close-up on the stream. Hopefully it's not too dark. So it has a 80mm objective across the front. It's unobstructed. And then it has the Lunt pressure tuning system on the side here. This allows you to tune what you can see. Solar finder at the top. And then the hydrogen alpha B1800 blocking filter at the back, which is a large enough blocking filter for both visual and imaging at this focal length. There we go, that's all nice and stable. Close this up so the wind doesn't get to it, because of course it's just started being a little bit windy. And please do let me know, guys, if you are having any trouble with the sound or it's too soft or too loud. And I can adjust it to make sure it works. All right. Next step, we will throw a camera in. So the camera we're going to be using today is the ZWO ASI 462. And this is a color camera, MC color. This is one of ZWO's latest planetary focused cameras. I do also have on the front here as well a ZWO IR cut filter. So this cuts the UV and infrared light because this camera is actually very sensitive to infrared light. And we don't want to be looking at that at the moment. We just want regular visible color spectrum. So we'll just plug that camera in. This is not a cooled camera, so it doesn't need any power, just needs a USB 3 connection because it does send data quite quickly. I think it's got like a couple of 100 frames per second frame rate, which is very nice. Get that to about there. Make sure mount is powered on. It looks like it is. And we should be good to check it out, see what we can see. Okay. So let's connect to our mount. Cool. On. Track at the solar rate. And then let's start pointing at the sun. Actually, hang on 1 second. Let's do a real quick balance check. Can't forget the balance check. Got to make sure your telescope is properly balanced. And we are slightly too heavy on this side. Otherwise your mount's going to have a tough time constantly fighting against the weight. Yeah, glad I didn't put 2 counterweights on. Cool, that seems good on the RA axis. That seems good on the deck axis. Cool, we're already nicely balanced. Easy. Okay, now let's point her at the sun. So it's midday. Actually, I should go the other side because we're going to be having to do a meridian flip soon. Alright, getting close. Alright, now we can use the solar finder to make sure that the sun is actually lined up properly with the scope. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Okay, we should be reasonably close now. There we go. Okay, let me swap you guys over. There we go. Hopefully you can still hear everything all right. And you can see, oh, there's a little bit of color. There we go. Oh, hello. Yep, that's the sun. Okay, cool. Just make sure that we're tracking the sun properly now, which we are. We're on our solar rate. Next thing we need to do is get focused properly, because that's not very well focused. Oh, hello, prominences. Look at that. Oh, wow, that is gorgeous. Wow. Straight off the bat, look at that. Amazing. That is... Oh, wow. That is a really intricate one. Right there. Beautiful. Get that focus as sharp as we can. Think about there. See if I can move the laptop a little bit closer to me so I can actually watch that in a bit more detail as I focus. Yeah, I think that's it about there. Okay, next thing we need to do is I need to adjust the pressure tuner to make sure we're getting the best possible view through the filter, and that's worth. I think that's pretty good right there, actually. I think we were pretty good where we were. Okay, cool. So, this is a live view of the sun right now. So let me see if we can get a bit more sun in view, shall we? Whoa, a bit too fast. Let me turn down the speed of the telescope a bit. And we can have a little bit of a gander around the outside edge. So we have some big, nice prominences down the bottom. So let me turn this camera on to 16-bit mode. There we go. And yeah, everything else looks good. And we've got a bit of detail on the left side as well. Some little details there on there, which are nice. Bit of detail on the right, some little prominences over this side as well. And then a big one up the top. Oh, look at that big one. That is huge. Let's maybe zoom in, I think, on this top one, and we can have a bit of a detailed look. I do have a doubler that we can throw on as well. Just center that up a bit more. Good. There is a lot of cool detail on this one. So, to give you guys an idea, let me see if I can pull up. See, how do we do this? So the Earth is about, can you see, actually, let me see if you can actually see my, I don't know if you guys can see, can you guys see my cursor? Or is that not visible to you guys? So this prominence here is about 5 to 6 Earths like tall. So you could like stack 5 or 6 Earths on top of each other from the surface of the sun there where it's white up to the top of that prominence. Just to give you guys an idea of how huge what the things that we're looking at on the sun are. Like it is, this stuff is really, really big. The sun is just so huge compared to anything we're normally looking at. Get a bit more detail if we drop the exposure down a little bit here as well. Sort of see a bit more detail in the shadow regions there. This is like a huge amount of plasma that's just been ejected out, and it could either be on its way out or it could actually be falling back towards the sun along the sort of magnetic lines. And let's have a look and see what the surface is doing at the moment. So we're going to need to drop this exposure way down. There we go. See if we can see any sunspots. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Very nice. There's a couple of prominences in the face here that we can see. That's really cool. Definitely a bit of detail on that one. You can see the atmosphere is moving around quite a bit though. We're getting a lot of movement. It's probably partially due, it is a bit breezy today in Sydney. And also being set up on my balcony, as the air of my balcony heats up, it tries to escape out through these sort of areas that I have, which will be given a bit of turbulence as well, but still not too bad. Let me throw on, I do have a 2.5 times Palmate, so let me throw that on, and we can see if we can get a bit more detail in some of these spots here. So let's see if that can help us. Oh. So this is the TeleView 2.5 times Palmate. Probably we'll have to redo our focus after this as well. Probably change our, I don't know if this Palmate is parafocal. That looks like it's different. It will also make things a bit darker, so we'll have to adjust our exposure as well. Okay, let's see. Oof, okay, there we go. Oh yeah, wow, okay, we're a lot more zoomed in now. I think one of the hardest things about solar astronomy is actually the reflections you get off your screen when you're trying to do things. Oh, wow, that is a huge amount of detail. Actually, this Palmate is, I just got this a couple of days ago, and I have yet to look through it, but that is really cool. Okay, let's move until we find an edge. Okay, there we go. Now we kind of know where we are. Where's that spot that we saw before? There we go. Ooh. you can actually start to see the magnetic lines in this image. This is so cool. So the sun has a whole, like, it's just a giant sort of magnet, really, with all that iron and plasma sort of moving around. As they move and interact, they create like dipoles on the planet, on the sun itself, and you can actually see a lot of those lines when, as it sort of settles down, moving and sort of stretching and pulling the surface of the sun along those directions. And as these sort of filaments then come up off the sun's surface, they get sort of stretched along these arc lines, which they then like shoot up, and then they get sort of pulled back down, which is so cool to see. So this is, we're looking on the front face of the globe of the sun, and then there's an ejection sort of coming out towards us. And, you know, from edge to edge, this ejection is probably, that looks to be about like 7 or 8 Earths across, from one side of this lighter spot in the top right here to the other. So, I mean, these things are just monstrously big. Now, this is a single stacked telescope, which means it has one filter in here. You can add a second one to it, which I'd love to do one day, but they are not cheap, and that will increase the contrast that we have. Oh wow, when that comes into view, that is so cool. Let's have a look around and see if we can view those prominences that we were looking at before. I think there was one up the top here. We're going to have to adjust our exposure because the surface is so much brighter than the outside. See just how bright that surface is getting before we even start to see any sort of prominences on the outside. Actually, it might have rotated as I rotated the camera, so we'll have a look. Have to search around for it. There it is. Brighten up the exposure a little bit more. Wow, that is so cool. This telescope is actually quite new to me. Thanks for joining, John. Catch you around. So I actually haven't had much of a chance to look through it. I've looked through the eyepieces once or twice. I've tried taking videos once or twice, but it's actually been pretty bad weather since we got it. We've had a lot of like thin layer of cloud, so I haven't actually been able to spend too much time with it. Looks like I've probably got another 20 minutes before the shadow of the balcony above me comes in and ruins the views, so I'm going to start taking a couple of photos. Couple of videos actually. So let's make sure that our speed traffic's all good, high speed's turned on. Cool. Actually going to drop down the video size here. I'll drop it down a bit more actually. And then we can up our gain, drop our exposure. Watch that frame rate down the bottom left spike as we start dropping this exposure down. You can even see the refresh rate on the screen. I mean, you guys might be limited because I think I'm only streaming at sort of 30 or so frames a second. Definitely getting a little bit of noise in there. Let's see if we can. It's not too bad. Okay. Now I'm just going to move it back into center frame a bit more. Cool, and then once that's settled, let's take a 60-second video of this one. And then what we do is we'll take so you take a bunch of videos, and so we're capturing at, 100 frames a second here for 60 seconds. So hopefully we'll get a couple of thousand frames out of that. Looks like some are getting dropped, probably because it can't transfer them to the computer fast enough. And then you use some software to run through all of those frames. It takes the most detailed part of each frame and collects all those details and sort of groups them together as you're looking through the atmosphere. A lot of the seeing, a lot of like turbulence and heat causes a lot of details to be lost. So by taking the most detailed part of each frame, you can group all those together and see what it would look like if you sort of weren't looking through a terrible atmosphere. And then you sort of end up with this really nice final detailed image rather than all this blur and wind that you can see here, all these heat waves that are coming off the ground. I live in a very, very urban area, and just with all the concrete around, it gets hot, heat waves come up off it, and it sort of distorts the view like we can see here. Cool, okay, captured those. That's cool. Now, let's make our way around to the other side, because I really liked how the prominence looked on the other side as well. Oh, look at all these nice, cool little details all the way around. There's these beautiful little prominences. I know if I go too far in, I'll lose track of the edge. And I'll be lost forever. Oh. There we go. Oh, look at this one. Oh, that is so good. Let me turn down my movement speed a little bit here. See if I can center it up a little bit better. Oh, that is so nice. Oops. Looks like a good spot there. Get another 60-second video of that one. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm just totally nerding out here, enjoying this view. Did I hit photo or video? Maybe I think I might have hit photo on that one. Let's have a look. Yeah, oops, I totally hit photos. Okay. Move that back a bit. And then this time, get some drop frames, so I might drop this down to 90. And then we'll go for it. I'm going to try and do one last little video of the prominence on the face of the sun, and then we'll probably wrap it up. Because I'm about to lose the sun here, unfortunately, for the day. Cool. So let's drop our exposure so we can see the face of the sun and go hunting for that prominence there. And I think it was up over this way. Let me change the resolution so you can see a bit more. There you go. Alright, now we should be able to find it a bit more easily. There it is. Bring up some crosshairs so we can center it. Nice. Drop the view back down. Something like that looks pretty good. Catch a couple of 1,000 frames on this one. I might even do 2 of these actually. Just love how you can see all these dark spots, all the different temperatures of the sun's surface, the cold spots, the bright spots, these ejecta that are just crazy bright and hot. So cool. Gosh, when that atmosphere settles, it is really nice detail. That is stunning. Wow. I'm going to do another one with a little bit more zoomed out. I'm just going to drop the exposure ever so slightly. But I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little, my first little stream on the sun. If you do, make sure you subscribe. Come along next time. And I'll definitely be doing some more of these. It's way easier doing astrophotography during the day than it is at night when it's all cold and dark. Hope you enjoyed. See you around.